Let's learn how to knit the drop stitch. This stitch drops these beautiful stitches and shows off the yarn. You can make as long as you like or as short as you like, and it has garter stitch ridges in between. We're going to work with a 6-row repeat, but you can make it as little as 4 rows or make as many ridges in between as you like. It works great with color changing yarn like this one, or you can change it on the rows where you elongate those stitches and then work a few ridges and change again. All right, let's begin.
Welcome to GoodKnit Kisses. We're all about helping you stitch your love and love your stitches.
To work this stitch pattern, you're just going to need your needles and appropriate weight yarn. I happen to be working with a US 8 needle today, and this is a medium 4 or worsted weight yarn. This is actually from Karen Cakes. So that is the one I'm working with today. You can use whatever you like. If you like the pattern for this infinity scarf, it's just working the width back and forth, and then you connect the ends when you're done. You can get that link down at the description in the video link below. And now let's begin. To begin the drop stitch, you're just going to cast on any number of stitches. So your preferred method of cast on with any number of stitches. I have an odd number here, and you're just going to work 4 ridges or 4 knit rows. So go ahead and do those. I'm going to go to show you my first row of knitting and what it looks like after you've done your 4 ridges of knitting, and then there's 2 rows that get you the drop stitch, and then the knit row that kind of pulls those stitches down. This is actually what it looks like when you're getting ready to repeat. Okay, so row 1 is actually knit stitches, but I wanted you to see what this looks like, because it's going to look like this every time. The very beginning row, of course, just is coming off of your cast-ons, so that's not a true way that you're going to see it normally. All right, so this is row 1. It's just all knit stitches. And again, this is just what it looks like when you get to that repeated area. So you can see how it's nice and loose. It looks different than a normal round or row here. But when you get to row 2, which is a repeat of the knit stitch, then it'll start resembling more like the ridges you're used to. Okay, so you're going to want to knit 4 rows. You can also just knit 2 rows and then move on to the drop stitch portion. So this is a 6-row repeat, but you can also make it a 4-row repeat if you prefer less of these ridges in between your drops. Okay, and now so you can see how this is a little bit loose. That's because I had the drop stitch row below it. I'm just going to tug on this, so you'll be able to see this later when you rewind, and that'll make a little bit more sense when you get to repeating your repeat pattern. Okay, so keep working on your rows, knit stitches for 4 rows, and I'll meet you back for row 5, the drop stitch row. See you soon. All right, we're ready for the drop stitch row. You could really call this the setup, because you need 2 rows to actually make the drop. So we're going to begin by working a knit stitch, and then we're going to wrap around however many times we want this to be long. So my wraps are 3, and that's how I have the pattern written, but you can wrap it around twice. You could wrap it around even 4, 5, 6 times, however many times you wish. You just need enough room on your needle and your cable. You can also work this on straight needles as well. I just like to do a circular because it just works really well for me. And then I can change out the length on my interchangeable needles if I need more cables, okay? If you wanna make sure that you are on the correct row here, you can see that I have 3 ridges here, 1, 2, 3 with those purl bumps there. And when you look on the other side, you can see 2 ridges here. So when we start knitting these stitches and wrapping around, it's going to make the next ridge of purls up here on the other side. All right, so go ahead and start by knitting 1, and then we're going to wrap our working needle here. We're going to wrap around 1, 2, 3. You want to make sure and do that loosely. Don't pull on it really tight because it will be harder later on when you need to slide it on your needle. So sometimes I just take this and make the first one loose and then go ahead and wrap those other two. And then I've got enough loose tension over here. And then knit your next stitch. And that is one setup for the drop stitch. So the next one, before you knit the next stitch, you need to wrap your stitches. So we're going to wrap around 1, 2, and 3, and then knit the stitch. And that's it. Just simply continue making your wraps and knit the stitch. Just make sure that before you move on, don't knit that next stitch. Pull back and see if you've wrapped it. If you haven't, go ahead and wrap it and you're done. So you're going to continue that all the way to the end, and you guessed it, you're going to need to knit that very last stitch. That's it. Pause your video. I'll meet you back up. See you soon. For the row, after we've got our drop stitches wrapped, we are just simply going to knit the first stitch and then drop off these 3 wraps. If you did 2 wraps or 6 or how many you did, you're just going to drop those off and knit the next stitch. Take the next ones, drop them off, and knit the next stitch. It's as simple as that. So drop the next ones off. I like to use the tip of my needle to do that, and knit the next stitch. Now what's going to happen is these are going to start looking really long and loose. You can actually go ahead and pull on them now, or you can pull on them later. You'll need to slide your stitches down. So if you weren't loose enough before here, it'll be a little bit tighter to kind of push them down. So you may want to just work a few at a time and then push them down physically if they're not, if they're too difficult to slide easily. So make sure and pull them off here. You can tell that these are ready to pull off because it's just going to come from this stitch here after you've already knit that one, and it just slides right off. And this stitch that's attached that pulls and makes that long, that's the one you're actually going to be knitting. So you're just knitting one and then sliding off the drop stitches, knit the next one, and repeat. You will end this row by knitting the very last stitch. And then you can pull your stitches down either as you go or at the end. Okay. All right, so keep going, pause your video, and I will see you at the end of this row. So I'm down towards the end, but you can see where I've pulled this one. It's not quite showing me which stitch to use, so I can just pull on that drop stitch and it separates these, okay? And then just go ahead and knit that stitch. So if you're not sure, just keep pulling on that elongated stitch and get it right out of there, like that, okay? And then you can see them separate. So that just kind of tends to happen, or at least it happens with me sometimes when it's crowded on this needle over here. All right, so I'm almost towards the end. I'll show you how to end this. Okay, so you should have about 4 loops on there. Just go ahead and pull off that last drop stitch and then knit the very last stitch. And then you can go ahead and pull down on your knitting. Okay, and if you didn't pull these as you went, you can still pull them again later on after this row. So this is what the end of your repeats looks like. So you're just going to continue repeating all those rows back and forth until you get to the desired length. And when it ends like this, what you'll want to do is go ahead and work the same number of knit ridges that you did. So when you got these garter stitch ridges, you want to work 4 more rows of knit stitches and then bind off. And in this case, for this particular pattern, I'm going to go ahead and actually just work my bind off and then attach it to the end here. There's multiple ways you can do that. I'm just going to attach them when I'm done here instead of adding on the finishing end garter stitch ridges. So you can see these ridges are here, but once this gets stitched together, this will look more complete. So I'll just bind off directly from this row. All right, so keep going and be sure and comment down below. Let me know what you think of this one, if you liked it with 2 wraps or the 3 that I did, or even more wraps. Have a great day and happy knitting.
Thanks for joining us today, where we help you stitch your love and love your stitches. See you again soon.